The theater lights dimmed softly as the next contestant was announced. The audience clapped politely, unaware that this performance would soon become one of the most unforgettable moments in talent show history. A young girl walked slowly onto the stage, her tiny footsteps echoing in the massive auditorium. She was only 10 years old, dressed simply, her hair tied back neatly, and her eyes filled with a mix of nerves and quiet confidence. The judges smiled warmly, expecting another sweet but ordinary performance from a child contestant. Simon Cowell leaned back in his chair, arms crossed, his expression calm but guarded. Years of judging had trained him to expect surprises, but rarely did he believe he would be shocked anymore. How wrong he was. The host knelt beside the girl and gently asked her name. She answered softly, almost whispering, yet her voice carried a calm strength. Then came the question that changed everything. The host asked if she came from a musical family. The girl hesitated for a second, glanced toward the audience where her family sat, and nodded. She then said words that sent a ripple through the room. She said her grandfather was Bob Marley. At first, there was confusion. A few people laughed, thinking it was a joke. Then the audience gasped as the realization settled in. Bob Marley. The legend. The icon. The voice that changed music forever. Simon Cowell's posture shifted instantly. He leaned forward, eyes sharp, curiosity burning behind his composed face. The other judges exchanged stunned looks. This was no ordinary audition anymore. Simon asked her how she felt carrying such a famous last name. The girl swallowed and admitted that people expected too much from her. She said she wasn't there to be compared, but to be herself. Her honesty touched something deep in the room. The audience applauded, but Simon raised his hand gently, signaling silence. He wanted to hear every word. He asked her why she chose to audition. She said she wanted the world to hear her voice, not because of who her grandfather was, but because music lived inside her. Simon nodded slowly. The room grew quiet. The tension was thick, the kind that makes hearts beat faster. Then Simon asked the question that no one expected. He asked her what she would sing. The girl smiled nervously and said she would sing an original song inspired by her grandfather's message, but written from her own heart. That answer alone raised the stakes beyond anything anyone imagined. As the music began, the first few notes were soft and gentle. The girl closed her eyes and took a deep breath. When she opened her mouth to sing, time seemed to stop. Her voice was not loud. It wasn't forced. It was pure, warm, and hauntingly familiar. There was a depth to it that felt impossible for someone so young. The melody carried the soul of reggae but blended it with something new, something modern, something undeniably her own. The audience leaned forward, completely silent, afraid to miss a single note. Simon Cowell's face changed. The skeptical look he often wore disappeared. His jaw slowly dropped, and his eyes softened. For the first time that night, he wasn't judging. He was listening. Halfway through the song, the girl's voice grew stronger. She sang about love, unity, and finding light in dark times. The lyrics were simple yet powerful, echoing themes her grandfather once shared with the world, but filtered through the innocence and hope of a new generation. Tears began to roll down faces in the audience. Even the camera operators seemed frozen. Then came the first twist. Just as the song reached an emotional peak, the music suddenly stopped. The girl faltered, her eyes opening in panic. A technical issue had cut the track. Murmurs filled the room. A few gasps echoed. The moment felt shattered. Simon raised his hand again. The room went silent. He asked the girl if she wanted to start over. She shook her head gently. Her voice trembled as she said she could finish without music. The audience held its breath. She began singing again, this time completely a cappella. Without instruments, without backing vocals, without any safety net. What followed was even more powerful than before. Her raw voice filled the theater, echoing off the walls, carrying emotion so deep it felt almost unreal. Every note rang clear. Every word felt personal. Simon Cowell slowly stood up from his chair. No one had ever seen this from him during an audition. The other judges looked at him in disbelief. The audience erupted into applause even before the song ended, but the girl kept singing, tears now streaming down her face as she poured everything into the final notes. When the song ended, there was silence. Then the entire audience rose to their feet in a thunderous standing ovation. The applause was deafening. People shouted her name. Some cried openly. The judges stood as well, clapping hard, their faces filled with awe. Simon didn't speak immediately. He waited for the noise to settle. When he finally spoke, his voice was quiet but steady. He said that in all his years of judging, moments like this were rare. He said she didn't just honor her grandfather's legacy, she expanded it. He admitted that he had expected pressure, expectations, maybe even disappointment, but what he witnessed was authenticity and soul beyond her years. Then came the second twist. Simon reached for the golden buzzer. The audience screamed. The girl froze, her eyes wide in disbelief. Simon pressed the buzzer, and golden confetti rained down from the ceiling. The theater exploded with cheers. The girl fell to her knees, overwhelmed with emotion, as her family rushed toward the stage, embracing her. Simon walked over and knelt beside her. He told her that talent like hers didn't come from a name, it came from heart. He said the world was ready for her voice. But the story didn't end there. Backstage, cameras followed the girl as she struggled to catch her breath. She admitted that she almost didn't audition because she was afraid of failing publicly. She said she worried people would say she didn't live up to her grandfather's name. Hearing that made the moment even more powerful. In interviews that followed, Simon revealed something surprising. He said he had almost stopped believing he could be truly shocked by auditions anymore. He said that night reminded him why he started judging talent shows in the first place. Social media exploded within minutes. Clips of the performance went viral worldwide. Fans debated whether talent could be inherited or if passion alone created greatness. Musicians praised her control and emotion. Even critics admitted they had underestimated her. Days later, another twist emerged. The girl released a statement thanking the audience, but made it clear she wanted to build her own path. She said she loved her grandfather deeply, but her journey was just beginning. As the competition continued, her performance became a symbol of something bigger. It wasn't just about talent. It was about courage, identity, and finding your voice in a world full of expectations. Each time she stepped on stage, the audience listened more closely, not because of who she was related to, but because of who she was becoming. By the end of the season, her audition was remembered as one of the most emotional moments in the show's history. People didn't just talk about the golden buzzer. They talked about the silence before her first note, the courage it took to sing without music, and the way Simon Cowell himself